What next for company values across the UK food manufacturing sector? From crippling energy costs to distribution shortages, a dearth of available staff to the new post-Brexit trade barriers into key markets, who would want to be a food manufacturer in 2022? Just this week, the Frozen Food Federation is appealing to the new government to provide support to the food industry to try and reduce the crushing cost of the production crisis. With 1 in 3 companies rated as either caution or danger, Plimsoll's latest analysis of the food manufacturing industry supports those calls for intervention. The end of freedom of movement from the UK's EU exit has exacerbated a skills shortage across the sector. Coupled with double-digit inflation leading to soaring wage demands, the HR costs of producing food are in some cases becoming untenable. There is optimism in announced schemes such as the Food and Drink Careers Passport and the Skilled Worker Visa schemes. But senior figures across the sector are demanding urgency be injected before it's too late. The supply chain is another major cause for concern. Concerns that have led some to raise the prospect of food shortages in the winter months. War in Ukraine, new regulatory complexities from Brexit, post-COVID demand explosions, fuel and transport costs, climate-affected produce harvests, and a long list of other factors are combining to increase both scarcity and cost of maintaining supply chains within the food sector. So how are all these disruptions and challenges affecting company performance and business values of the UK's leading food manufacturing businesses? In the first period after the pandemic years, values recovered strongly, growing around 6% after a 1% fall in the previous year. This compares to a UK-wide average increase of 2% growth in values. The top-level average masked some serious fragmentation in business values by size of company. In total, over a quarter of the UK's leading food manufacturers saw their value fall in the latest year, despite strong average growth. Only 206 firms have seen their value rise in each of the previous 3 years. Within the industry, there is a growing divide in valuation performance based on size. The 10 largest companies and the bulk of the smaller, new companies have maintained healthy growth in average valuations in the latest year. Those manufacturers in the middle bracket, between 5 and 150 million turnover, have seen values fall by around 3% in the latest period. According to the latest Plimsoll analysis, average company values across the food manufacturing sector have risen in the latest year by around 6%. That's a sharp recovery from the 1% falls we saw in the previous pandemic-ravaged year and beats the all-industry UK average of just 2%. However, we are only this financial year seeing soaring inflation and the impact of geopolitical crises. So how long will that recovery last? The final area worth noting are the comparisons across the food sector and the large contrast in fortunes depending on the type of food being produced. Baby food manufacturers, for example, saw the largest average value growth with 24% rises in the latest year. Despite rocketing prominence and popularity, vegan food producers saw values fall by 1%, perhaps a sign of oversaturation in the sector. It's clear that the food manufacturing sector is under increasing pressure due to rapidly changing regulatory frameworks, inflation, and the great hiring crisis. To help our listeners make sense of some of the impact, we are offering a free insight report looking at business valuation and performance trends across the food market. For a free copy of the latest insights report, please click on the link below or email me at c.evans@plimsoll.co.uk and I'll get that processed for you immediately.